Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the MK Productions podcast. We are back on the grid. I'm your host, Mac, joined here as usual by my fellow program, my fellow simulation, Miss Flamingo, aka Kristen. Kristen, I'm throwing a lot of computer terms tonight. Do you know why?
Why is that, Mac?
Because today it's kind of a part two. We're going to be going over Tron Ares on this episode. This is our topic. We're going to be talking about the newest entry into the Disney's Black Sheep franchise, Tron Ares. Last episode we covered Tron Legacy and its build up to it. Now today we cover Tron Ares, but we're joined here by a special guest as well too. Kristen, would you like to introduce him?
Yes, we are joined by, I should have asked, sorry, Darian, I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name, but we are joined by Culture Wave and host of Cinema Wave. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes,
Darian?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
Darian Scalamanui?
Scalamoni.
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 I am so sorry.
All
Mac knows
good.
I'm bad with pronunciation of names, so
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to hop into the grid with you guys. I'm very sorry that I wasn't able to make the Tron Legacy recording. We were trying to make it work. We just couldn't with the schedules. But this is a very interesting entry into this decade spanning franchise that I'm sure there's a lot of conversation we're going to be able to have with this. So I'm excited to talk about it with you guys.
yeah, of course. So, Darian, I want the audience to get to know you. What do you do over at Culture Wave?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kristen. So I started my own entertainment outlet basically a few years ago. I was a film teacher, a high school film teacher for 4 years. I started pre-COVID, saw myself on the other side of COVID and taught for another couple of years, but I decided that I wanted to start my own company and things like that. And I actually built a podcast studio out of my shed. So it is there, which I lead a team of, it's myself and 8 other people at Culture Wave. And we have a number of podcasts there. We cover the entertainment industry, just like you guys on the Cinema Wave podcast, where we cover new television series, we cover films, we cover film festivals, just like you guys do as well. We also have other podcasts on there called Real Drafters and Jersey's Finest Podcast, where we interview creators from New Jersey and the tri-state area. And I just love film and entertainment. I always have been a fan. I've been reading, I always joke, I've been reading like Entertainment Weekly and Variety since I was like 11 years old. So
Oh
it's
my
something that
gosh.
Oh yeah,
I've
same. I
had,
feel like
yeah,
that's common
absolutely.
for this group.
Yeah. So it's just like, especially with entertainment news and entertainment journalism, it's always been something I've been super interested in. And getting to hear about some of these projects before they come to fruition, including the one we're going to talk about tonight. I remember reading the Deadline article to where they said that they were making a new Tron movie with Jared Leto as the lead. And now we get to talk about it now that that's officially out. So I'm excited to get to that conversation, and I'm excited to talk more with you guys about some of the other awesome news stories that are happening in Hollywood.
And the wonderful thing I love about what you do over there is like what you mentioned, you review and you discuss shows and movies, everything. And I see that you've recently done, at least some people over on your network, they've done stuff for like Demon Slayer. I know you are doing stuff for Peacemaker. So you got a lot of stuff going on. And I believe you even did stuff for The Last of Us season 2, correct?
We did. We covered The Last of Us. That was season two was an interesting ride because I hadn't played the second game, but one of our co-hosts, Mark, he is a huge fan of the second game, and so we brought him on kind of week to week as our
Oh,
video game aficionado. I played the first game, loved the first game, and then Liz and I, one of my other co-hosts, we covered it from the lens of just seeing the story play out. So that's one of the things we covered. We mostly loved Peacemaker. I think all of us who covered it, me, Vinny, and Sean, we were a bit disappointed with the finale, but we're starting to ramp up our anime coverage as well. And so we just love talking about the artistic ability and capability of what film and television can do for people. So that's a
right.
big part of what I like to preach over at Culture Wave Media, and hopefully your audience is could hop over there and subscribe to us on YouTube as well as on Instagram and TikTok. We're at Cinema Wave Media. So but I'm really excited to join you guys for your show. I'm a fan. I love listening to your guys' takes and all that stuff. I listened to your legacy review before this. And so
Oh, thank you.
I'm
Thank
excited. I'm
you.
excited to get into this with you guys because there's a lot to talk about with this movie. Some good, some bad.
And the good thing is we have, as you know, folks, we have Mac, the resident Tron expert here. You know me, guys. I wasn't really a fan until I rewatched Legacy, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. And now I'm happy we have another fan joining us to discuss this film. Mac, you ready to talk some news?
Let's get right into the news.
This is CNN, a network of Turner Broadcasting System.
right, so the news starting off this episode, Darian, you mentioned Variety. So this first news story actually comes from Variety. Guys, do you like the Jetsons?
Jane, his wife.
There are early talks for Jim Carrey to star in a live-action adaptation of the Jetsons, with Colin Trevorrow attached to direct. And when I saw this news story, I immediately thought, "Oh, yeah, that's something here." So there's never been a live action version of the Jetsons. The last time the Jetsons were in the theaters was in the 1990 movie, which I saw over and over again on Boomerang and Cartoon Network back in the day. But there's still talks now, that things confirmed yet. But it'll be interesting to see. The last thing Colin Trevorrow worked on was Jurassic World Disaster. I mean, Dominion. So yeah, I'll start with Darian. Darian, what do you think about this news with Jim Carrey leading a live action Jetsons reboot?
So I think it's an interesting story in the case that Jim Carrey is just now in the stage of his career where he's just latching himself onto IP,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is so different than I feel like what we saw in the early aughts of Jim Carrey's career. I think it's an interesting pairing. Colin Trevorrow, I mean, he's a director that I don't love much of what I've seen from him in terms of his stuff. I do like Safety Not Guaranteed, which is a much smaller project, but since he started going in the more IP direction, I think hopefully he has a very kind of artistic take and he has a real sense of passion for the franchise because if he doesn't and they don't keep the budget down on something like this, I do think that it could wind up being a flop. I don't know if there's as much of an audience anymore for the Jetsons. It was obviously a bigger thing when the original animated series came out. And what was that? The 1960s, I believe it was.
Yep.
So my mom is a huge Jetsons fan, but my mom's in her 60s. So that's one thing where you have to kind of think about how you're going to cater to your audience. Jim Carrey leading it though, he is a talented actor. He's now, like I said, in this part of his career where he's playing Eggman in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, and he's always been good at those over the top animated sort of characters. But George Jetson also isn't necessarily that. He's kind of more of like the straight man
Mm-hmm.
within the family. So I don't know exactly. It's an inspired casting. I mean, I do like a lot of Jim Carrey's performances, but he's doing a lot of different things nowadays. So for me, it's really going to matter about how the script is, and it's going to matter about if they can keep that budget. I mean, you need to obviously there's going to be a lot of CGI involved, but they're going to have to keep their budget pretty down if they want to kind of make it a successful project.
I don't know how I feel about this because this could end up like a really bad box office bomb. That's the way I see it. Jim Carrey, has a fan base. I mean, most of us here really do like his comedy a lot, but I just feel a lot of younger audiences who they want to gear this new Jetsons movie geared towards are not really going to be as engaged or eager to see it, And I feel like, do we need a Jetsons movie? No.
Yes.
I don't have any like feelings towards the Jetsons. No hate to the classic cartoon, but I don't think it's needed, and I'm surprised Colin is attached to this project. I really want to know what really grabbed his attention and be like, yeah, we need this as a movie. And I'm like, maybe go back to the drawing board, go back to Safety Not Guaranteed. I really miss like that kind of style of film that he's done, like the independent filmmaking style. So I would love to see him go back to that, but who knows? Maybe he'll find some kind of unique story, but budget, like going off what you were saying, Darian, is also going to be big discussion about that and how they're going to turn this into a project.
So let me tell
Let
you
me
why. Let me tell you why
yeah.
you're wrong in that case, in my opinion.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so I feel like this isn't going to be a box office bomb if they do this because let's face it. First of all, f them kids. This isn't for the kids because I will guarantee you there are kids who don't know about the Jetsons. But the way you target that is you target the Jet boomers and you target the millennials because those are the two generations that grew up with the Jetsons, the reruns on Hanna-Barbera, Boomerang, Cartoon Network. You watch those reruns, and now they're old enough to have their own grandkids and kids now. So if you have something like the Jetsons coming out in theater, that's going to draw in seats already, and then you already have Jim Carrey as a star power. That's obviously, if they cast Jim Carrey and you get someone like Colin Trevorrow attached, that will give this, that's like, hey, we have these big names attached to it. We're gonna want more money attached to this project. So they'll probably give a little bit of money because it's like, okay, Jim Carrey's gonna be like, hey, Jim Carrey's gonna be at Jetsons. You get a good supporting cast of it. It's gonna do well. Now, are we in the era like we were in the 2010s with all the live action adaptations where we had Smurfs, Yogi Bear, Underdog, and Fat Albert? You know, we're not in that era anymore. So maybe it could do well. But I think
That
it
was
has
a time.
potential.
Remember that? Oh my
I
God,
like
Underdog.
I love Underdog.
Me
Actually,
too.
I love Underdog so much, but I have a feeling it could work. I personally love the Jetsons. I love all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. My favorite depiction of the Jetsons was the Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. If you ever seen that show, I highly recommend. It's a great Adult Swim show. It's like pretty much a parody of all the Hanna-Barbera shows, and the Jetsons got sued because they raised their house too high and flooded everyone's bottom houses.
Oh,
But yeah, I got hope for Jetsons. We'll give it a shot. I think. Hey, Seth MacFarlane almost did the Flintstones reboot.
I remember that. And that went nowhere.
No, it didn't. I think he
Yeah,
realized like,
it says actually says it in the Variety article, Mac. I'm not sure if you saw this, but there were three other attempts since 2003 to get this property like back off the ground. Like to do a live action was one of them by Adam Shankman, a 2007 CGI version directed by Robert Rodriguez. That I would have been
that would have been
interested.
awesome.
And then a 2017 animated version. And like there's been so many attempts to like redo the Flintstones too. Like that's another one where those Hanna-Barbera, they're great. They're classic cartoons, but it's such a cartoon of the moment. Like it's something where like I guess speaking from the beginning of the pod, like when I was teaching, I taught a diversity in television and film class when I was a high school teacher, and there were certain things that I would show them that like references would go over their head, right? And like you said, it's not for like the Gen Z, it's not for that audience, but at the same time, if it's going to be a CGI heavy movie, which it would probably need to be, which
Mhm.
means the budget's going to be inflated, you kind of need to you need to tap into that audience a little bit. And I think that's what's happening with like Sonic, where like to like where just to I guess with the synergy of Jim Carrey being in those movies too, like Sonic, obviously they still have new games coming out and things like that, but like the game came out in the 90s and it's just built its audience over time. Like now there's young kids that are going to the movies, adults are going to see the films because they love the characters. So I don't know if the Jetsons brings that same sort of carryability from the 60s because they're not in pop culture lore as much as they used to be. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Who do you think Jim Carrey would play in this?
George Jetson.
George Jetson?
Yeah, that's the only reason you kind of need him to be the part of the main family.
Okay.
Hey, it
Gotcha.
could be worse. It could be leaving Las Rock Vegas with Flintstones.
Okay. Alrighty, so you ready for my news story? Because this is going on what we talked about, I believe, last time, Mac, when I was on the pod. And it's about Dwayne Johnson and Benny Safdie. Dwayne Johnson and Benny Safdie's Lizard music lands at Amazon MGM Studios from United Artists. So this is coming from Variety. I'm going to read off the article right here for you folks. Dwayne Johnson and Benny Safdie's next collaboration, a movie titled Lizard Music, which sees Johnson as a 70-year-old called Chicken Man with a 111-year-old chicken named Claudia as his closest companion, has landed at Amazon MGM Studios with United Artists. Safdie is directing and wrote the script based on Danielle Pinkwater's novel of the same name. UA and Scott Stuber landed the hot project in a competitive situation. Amazon MGM Studios has landed Lizard Music with Dwayne Johnson, directed by Benny Safdie. This is the first major collaboration I wanted to talk about for this story for Benny and Amazon MGM to team up with because previously Benny has been known for working with A24 for most of his film career now. We're going back to Good Time and, Uncut Gems, and recently The Smashing Machine. He even produced movies with A24. So this is just like a surprising thing to come about. So obviously, this is a big hot ticket project. It's going to be like a family friendly movie because I know from the discussion being had with this movie, Benny wanted to make a family-friendly movie for his kids, so I think it's gonna do well with Amazon MGM, but I was here curious to hear your thoughts in this collaboration with Dwayne Johnson, Benny Safdie, and Amazon. Mag and Darian, what are your thoughts?
Regarding the story of Lizard Music, so I saw Smashing Machine at TIFF actually, and
Yes.
I really enjoyed the movie. I understand why it's divisive. I understand. I honestly don't understand why it bombed as bad as it did, because the marketing for it was good. I think they could have marketed it maybe on some of the bigger channels. Like, it was all that sort of cohesion on like UFC broadcasts and ESPN and a lot of stuff like that. And I feel like I wasn't seeing a lot of the sort of marketing for like Benny, who has a little bit of draw in circles for especially like Uncut Gems, which is literally one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think that it's a movie that, getting to see that and see a serious role with Dwayne, it's unfortunate that that movie didn't do better than it did financially. I do still think it's a critical success, and I think Dwayne and Emily and Benny all do fantastic work in the film. Having said that, Lizard Music, it's such a different project,
Hmm.
where I'm absolutely interested for a number of reasons. Obviously, getting to see Dwayne and Benny team up again is awesome. Dwayne loves to do these filmmaker team ups. Like, he's done this over time, like Jake Kasdan, obviously, with the Jumanji films, and I believe he's worked with Jean-Marc Colette Serra multiple times as well.
Yeah.
He loves to have frequent collaborators, so it makes sense in that sense. I do like that he's kind of doing something different, even in terms of like his body. Like, they were talking, like, I remember at on the ground at TIFF, people were like, "Is he sick? Like, why is Dwayne Johnson so skinny?" And it's because
Yes.
he's playing like an over 100-year-old or a 70-year-old man. He was saying in the kind of press lead up to it. So I'm interested. I am worried about, in a similar vein, I guess, to the Jetsons story. I don't necessarily know who the movie is for. Like, we know it's a kid movie, and obviously, like, it's something with the sensibilities of a younger audience. But
Hmm.
with such a mystical and fantastical story like this, you have to hit the right notes. Otherwise, you're going to end up with something that just kind of completely misses the mark of what they want that vision to be told. And Benny has such a, in my experience of seeing Benny's films, he has such a mind for the grounded element of stories, and this just feels so outside of his wheelhouse. Not to say that he can't do it, because I think he's incredibly talented, but I'm more
Hmm.
interested than anything. But I am excited to see what they could do with it, because
I
it sounds like
agree.
an interesting story, you know?
I agree with that. Especially knowing how talented he is as a filmmaker. He definitely has the audience, especially this group of people. He can get the people to see it. However, that didn't work out with, Smashing Machine. I just think, unfortunately, with timing with that film didn't really work out, and the audience clearly did not show up. And you can kind
I
of say that for the recent Dwayne Johnson film, because remember last year at Christmas, even his big budget movie didn't do well at the box office. Red One, remember that, Mac?
well, that one sucked. That was the difference with that. That one generally sucked. Slashing Machine was like, this is clearly The Rock. The reason why it didn't do well, I'm guessing, is because it's something where it's like, okay, it's a story of people. He's really trying to enter his thespian era of acting, because for years he was always saying like, "Oh, you're just like the big budget guy doing the same role." Like, he's really trying to extend his range. I mean, Spielberg even said he did a good job with his acting. So even if this
Mhm.
failed financially, I think this still is a win in his book,
Yes.
because he's now being recognized. Like, okay, he has acting chops. Like, they need to be fine tuned, but there's something there. So I think Benny Safdie was the director, finally get something out of him. Like,
Hmm.
because from everything I've heard, really great in Smashing Machine. Story is a little cluttered. The writing is a little iffy. It feels like a more of a Mark Coleman story than Mark Kerr. But
Mm.
Yeah, I could agree to that now as I sit and think about it more. I think he's more fascinating than Mark, I will say.
well, there's that. Which Mark? There's two Marks.
His competitor
Mark
and
Coleman.
friend.
You have the
Mark Coleman.
you say you're like, I like the Mark. I'm like, which Mark? Mark
Yeah,
Kerr or
I
Mark
just
Coleman?
forget their both names.
But yeah, I think he's entering the era where he's respected as an actor. So I think Masashi Shin, even though it was a financial hit, because I think they probably thought it was going to be a financial hit, it's still going to be maybe buzzed around the award season. Probably not going to get anything, but it's going to recognize him as a good actor. So I think that him doing this next movie is going to stick to the family friendly one and still be marketable because it is The Rock.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just curious to see how it's going to really turn out because of what Darian brought up and how he looked at Tiff. I think that's a big thing because, we're used to seeing big, tough Dwayne Johnson, and now he's like little, skinny Johnson. But maybe he's going down that Dave Bautista road, where he's really going to get recognized for his really strong acting chops, Mac? Alrighties. Next story. All right, we're going to move on to a different topic. I thought this one sounded kind of fun. Pierce Brosnan's remake of a Sylvester Stallone action classic finally gets a release date. Jean-Colette Serra's cliffhanger reboot has officially reached the summit. This is an article coming from Collider. With Row K Entertainment announcing in August 28th, 2026 release date, shout out to my mom, that's her birthday, a theatrical release for the high altitude survival thriller starring Pierce Brosnan and Lily James. The film is a modern retelling of Sylvester Stallone's 1993 classic action classic, excuse me. Although hearing about a 1993 movie being updated for a modern audience is terrifying, was acquired by Row K out of this year's Toronto International Film Festival and has quickly climbed to the top of distributors' upcoming slate. While August is often considered a dump month for theatrical releases, it's also a smart window, offering breathing room between crowded summer blockbusters and prestige Oscar bait. Did you both know about this
No.
remake, and would you go see it? And do you think it's the perfect time to release it right at the end of August?
I did not hear about this remake, no.
No big no? Nope. You're not gonna want to check out this remake of uh Sylvester Stallone's movie?
I think I'll pass.
You're gonna pass on it?
Yeah,
Even with Lily James? Did you watch her yet, Mac? In whatchamacallit, Swiped? The movie about the Bumble?
I'll pass on it, like I just said.
Oh, you're gonna pass on both. Okay. So Darian, I want to know your thoughts on Pierce Brosnan's new remake.
Yeah, so I'm curious about this. First of all, Roque Entertainment was not a thing until a few months ago. They're a new distributor, and I love these smaller labels that are trying to find that their way into the marketplace now because everything is a conglomeration. And I mean, even the fact that Paramount might scoop up Warner Brothers is kind of terrifying. But these smaller distributors that are kind of finding their way into the market and buying back movies to give audiences, like I think I agree with what the article is trying to say in terms of especially the release date. Because if you look at the month of August as of right now, there's really not a lot coming out at all. There's an untitled Disney movie that is a couple weeks before that, but it's still untitled and it's
Yes.
we're 10 months away, so who knows if that even makes a release date. There is a rom-com with Monica Barbaro and Callum Tate Turner, which could be good, but again, marketing is a big part with rom-coms. David Robert Mitchell's
Mhm.
Flower Vale Street, that could be big, but it's a big budget sort of dinosaur movie that we still don't know much about. So who knows
Right.
what's going to happen with that. So I think the release date is great for it, especially because it's going to be the tail end of summer. And Cliffhanger does still carry a little bit of cachet in terms of having an older audience. Now, Sylvester Stallone isn't involved with it at all, and it so much was his property in the beginning. But Jean
Right.
Colette Serra, who, again, ironically, I didn't know this story, Kristen, before you brought it up, and I talked about him last story.
Yeah.
But he is a really good action director. Like he did Carry On, which was one of my biggest surprises of last year.
Yes. That was
Um
fun too.
Also shout out to Jersey because it's a big Jersey reference in that movie, close to where I
Yes.
live, Freehold Mall.
Yes.
But I do like Lily James. I loved her in Pam and Tommy. I love her
Love
in The
Pam and
Iron
Tommy.
Claw. So having a female fronted sort of take with the story is interesting to me. Franz Rogowski's also in it, who was in this indie I saw actually last year at the Montclair Film Festival called Bird, and I really like him. And I'm a fan of Pierce Brosnan. So similar to what I said with the last story, I'm interested. I would like to see a trailer kind of before I can commit to seeing it, but I do like what Roque is establishing with this has the ability to kind of be a box office win for them when it didn't have a distributor up until this point, and they're kind of surrounding it with these other small projects like Dead Man's Wire,
I
and
was just gonna bring that up.
Poetic
Yes.
License, I highly recommend to both of you guys. I saw it at TIFF and it was fantastic. And Cooper Hoffman is just amazing, and it reminds me so much of his dad. His performance in that is like the closest thing I've seen to his dad in terms of like having fun with comedy. It reminded me of like him, of Philip Seymour Hoffman in Along Came Polly.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I'm interested. I guess we'll have to see. Again, I would love to see a trailer before committing to seeing it, but I do like to see a lot of the newer releases. So we'll see what happens.
I love that you brought up how Row K Entertainment is like the newer, distributor because I saw earlier this week they were starting to buy up some movies that were at TIFF, and I was surprised to see nobody bought Dead Man Wire right away because I was so excited for that and I heard so many positive things, but
Mhm.
nobody was really grabbing it until Row K. So I know it's coming out in January. Did you see it at TIFF? Because like you said, you mentioned you went to TIFF. Did you get to
I
see it? Like,
didn't. It was one that was on my list. I'm excited that it's getting a wide release. There's two of the other films they actually acquired were two that I tried to see at TIFF. I didn't have a chance to see it just because there's so many trying
yeah,
to
it
see
was
so many
the
things
Charlie
there.
one. Yeah, it was
Charlie Harper
Charlie
was another
Harper.
one. But Dead Man's Wire, I mean, Gus Van Sant is a terrific filmmaker. Obviously, Good Will Hunting is terrific. But the cast for Dead Man's Wire is just awesome with Skarsgård and Dacre Montgomery, who feel like is like falling off the maps in Stranger Things. Like just literally haven't seen him. Coleman Domingo, Mahala, Al Pacino. So like it's a really interesting cast. And so I heard it could be like a cousin to Dog Day Afternoon, which is super interesting to me. So I like what they're establishing with their first sort of slate in 2026. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with Roque in the future.
All right, so if that's enough of the news, let's hop back in the grid and talk about the newest entry in the Tron series, that being Tron Ares.
The visually mind-blowing world of Tron will finally come to ours. And it must be seen on the biggest screen possible. Tron Ares, rated PG-13.
All right, so the topic for today, we are going over the third entry in the Tron series, that being Tron Ares, directed by Joachim Roning. It features an ensemble cast of Jared Leto, Greta Lee, Evan Peters, Jodie Turner-Smith, Minaj, Arthur Castro, and Gillian Anderson. And it follows the events of Tron Legacy, and it is about an AI trying to take over the world in real life, and that's where I'll keep it at. We're gonna keep no spoilers out of this. So yeah, last episode we did Tron Legacy. As many of you know, I love Tron. I've been a fan of the original 1982 film. I love Legacy a lot.
Mhm.
So excited when they announced they're finally gonna do it because little history lesson. Tron was Disney's attempt to have its own sci-fi franchise, but the first movie didn't do well box office wise critically. It did get a cult following. You'll notice a trend here. When Tron Legacy came out in 2010, they put a lot of marketing into it. It was all over the place in 2010. And this is right before they bought Marvel and Star Wars. So they were like, okay, we'll give Tron another shot. They had Daft Punk come and do the soundtrack. They put in a lot of effort to really make this because they noticed over the years Tron has a big following online. And Tron Legacy was a little disappointing at the box office. It has also garnered a cult classic following, and we mentioned Joseph Kosinski directed that movie as well too. So originally they were going to do a Tron 3 taking place after Tron Legacy, but after they got Star Wars and Marvel, they said, "Fuck this, we don't need this shit." So then they canceled it, and Joseph Kosinski went on to do what he do best with F1, Top Gun Maverick. But after a while, Disney said, "Shit, Star Wars has crashed, has burned. Marvel's not really doing well." Tron is your time to shine, and they announced it with a new director, Jared Leto as the starring role, one of the ensemble cast, Nine Inch Nails doing the soundtrack. It's like, hey guys, we listened to you. We're gonna make it just like Tron Legacy, and honestly, it's not the Tron Legacy sequel I wanted, but I'm still okay with it. That's what
Okay.
I'll begin with.
Okay. Were you pleased with the soundtrack? Because that's the big thing that they
No, it
need.
sucked.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. No, I'm fucking around.
I sounded like you were so serious because I was like,
No,
before you
no.
kind
It's
of like
Nine
praising
Inch
it.
Nails. It's gonna be good. If there's one takeaway from Tron Ares, the soundtrack is a banger because it's Nine Inch Nails. They don't miss. Like that's what I'm noticing. With Tron Legacy it was Daft Punk. It's time is Nine Inch Nails. Now Nine Inch Nails can't compare to Daft Punk with that level, but they did a good job with this new soundtrack as well too. That's literally like the one universal thing I'm like, hey, that Nine Inch Nails soundtrack was pretty good.
I was just gonna say with Nine Inch Nails, like it's like the Nine Inch Nails. It's not like Tret and Octavius like separately, like from like Challengers and Gone Girl, and like working with so many great directors. It's like no, this is like true Nine Inch Nails. So I was happy to hear the soundtrack, but I really want to get into our thoughts of our guest Darian. What did you think of Tron Ares?
Yeah, so coming into it, I had rewatched Tron Legacy, as I said at the beginning of the pod, and was really pleasantly surprised with how well it kind of held up. But even more than that, and I'm happy Mac brought this up. Kaczynski's directorial style and ambition with that movie, especially it being his directorial debut, I think we forget how well it's directed
Mhm.
because the
Mhm.
movie is brilliantly directed to where in this film, I think that one of the things that is such a big criticism from my perspective is that Joaquin Roning, like I haven't seen any of his other projects, so I can't speak to that directly. There are some creative, interesting shots, but so much of it is reliant on CGI in bad
Yes.
ways, from my perspective. I did see this movie in IMAX. I will say that some of the visuals, though, do really stand out. Like, I this isn't, I guess, a spoiler for the plot or anything like that, but there is a sequence that takes place within the grid that's kind of like on a jet ski. And that is a sequence to me that stands out as something where I'm like, this is where Ares is at its peak. And
Yes.
there's other things where you have scenes between, um, whether it's Athena and Ares, and Jodie Turner Smith's character and Jared Leto, or scenes between Greta Lee's Eve and Arturo Castro Seth, that it feels so disjointed and they don't feel human, even if the characters are human, like especially the latter characters.
Mhm.
To where I think that the biggest criticism for this movie is that what it tries to do stylistically, but like for the technical achievements, it's fantastic. Like in IMAX, the sound is brilliant, the score is fantastic, the visuals really work. But all the other things that need to drive that forward, the plot, the characters, cutting actors out of the movie and basically almost
Yes.
entirely that are great actors and that you see behind the scenes clips of them training for fight choreography and they're barely in the movie like Cameron Monaghan. That kind of
Yes.
stuff stands out to me as the things that I don't like about it. So it's not a terrible movie. But I actually came out of it being like, I don't know if I could ever watch this movie again unless I'm in a high def environment. Because to me, the only things I cared about were the things that IMAX was highlighting for me because I'm not connected to a single character in this movie at
That's
all. Not a
that.
single character.
Yeah, that was the big thing I had with this film. I did enjoy the performances of like, Jared Leto, which is probably his best that he's done in a very long time, but because we had some pretty bad performances over the last few, years and from House of Gucci, still trying to erase that from my mind. And I said it earlier and I'm forgetting the movie again, Mac. The Denzel
The strange thing, strange little things.
strange little thing. Is
The
that what it
little,
was?
yeah, yeah.
Strange Little Things. Okay. That movie, that one's completely gone from my memory, just aside from his bad performance. I like Jared Leto in this one, but I agree with you because I've been hearing a lot of people also have this discussion with, the performances between Greta Lee and what's the kid's name? I want to call him a kid, but he's not a kid.
Arturo
Arturo
Castro.
Castro,
Yeah,
because they were saying that this guy was annoying and it feels like those two, yes, they kind of work, but their characters don't really fit. At least this character that Arturo was playing doesn't really fit where they were going. Yes, they were trying to bring in some cheesy elements to it because I felt Tron has, like, as a whole, is kind of silly and gimmicky in a
How
way.
dare you?
No, not in a bad way. It's like in a good way. It's kind of like nerdy in a way. Like if I'm saying it, I'm trying to say it properly, but like in good ways where it's fun. You know, but
I get what you said. I was messing around with you. No, it is like the concept of Tron itself is pretty nerdy, but it's still well. It comes from the '80s nerd perspective, and I love it.
I felt Arturo didn't really fit in this movie. I didn't even care about Hassan Minaj at all either. I just was like, I couldn't care too buttholes about him. There was other characters that I just was like interested in. I was really, really into Evan Peters. Like I was so fascinated with the whole Dillinger thing and stuff going on with him and his mom. And then that stuff that goes on between that, I was like really into. Everything else I that was going in, there's too many characters I felt, and I was bored most of the time. I actually got up and used the bathroom at one point because I was just like, all right, I think I can go pee at this part. And I did. And I asked my husband, what did I miss? And he said, you missed nothing. And I said, great. We
That's the
are
pro-
still on track.
That's the problem with Ares is that, compared to Legacy, there wasn't a lot of characters. It was kind of just focusing on like the four main characters like that. You had Rinsler, Clue, Flynn, Cora, and Sam. That's like five characters, and two of those are played by Jeff Bridges. With
Yeah.
this one, when they announced
Poor
the
Jeff
kind
Bridges is barely in this one. Sorry. Go
it's
ahead.
like with this cast, it's like there's way too many people for Tron because like I think one problem with it is that you kind of watching the trailer, you kind of don't know what's going on a little bit. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
and you
lie,
know what? You told me Jared Leto was the villain. No, Jared Leto was not the villain
I
here.
didn't know that because I thought, oh, they're gonna cast Evan Peters as the good guy, but I realized, oh, Jared Leto is actually gonna be the protagonist. When I realized, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
You know what's crazy? I'm glad you brought up the Evan Peters thing, Kristen, because if you flip Evan and Jared in this movie, you automatically could probably go up a whole point in the score
Hmm.
because Evan is so much more dynamic as an actor. And I will say
Yes.
again, like I said, I'm not interested in any of the characters in this movie. The only one that I do care a little bit about that they don't give enough to do is Julian, is Evan Peters because of the way he is as a performer. And I think that
Yes.
I don't think here's the thing, Jared Leto, I don't think he's the best actor. I mean, he has an Academy Award, but he does better when he's playing like megalomaniac types. Like
Yeah.
he has to be somebody that's so outside of themselves and so heightened that it seems believable because at the same time, on top of the fact that he's an actor, he's a rock star. Like he is somebody that is larger than life, even in terms of like his lyricism when you listen to some of his music. I haven't seen House of Gucci, but like I saw this series that was on Apple called We Crashed, where he plays Adam Newman, who's basically
Yes.
a real guy. And that's a good performance from him because he's so outside of himself and he's just so obsessive over the fact that he believes he's better than everybody else. And I think
Yeah.
that works. Like that's where he can shine. I think, again, also playing more supporting things like I think he's good in Blade Runner. I think
Yes, of course.
I
Blade
mean,
Runner.
I'm on the wrong side, I'm sure, as many people, but I don't hate his Joker. I don't like it, but I don't think there's enough there for me to be like it's the worst performance ever. There's it's not a fully captured performance. Now in this, he's playing this AI that just is so the fact that they go in like again, we're not gonna go into spoilers like you guys talked about, but there's a scene in a car between his character and Eve that is supposed to be this philosophical turning point, which Mac, I'm sure you can attest to. So much of the Tron identity is that kind of heady philosophical side that they go into it,
Yeah.
where it could be corny, but if it's done right, it plays well into the lore, and that's what they do well in Legacy.
Hmm.
They do it
Yes.
in a car. They do it in a car on the highway between these two characters, and nothing about it is intriguing. None of it feels like it just kind of happens at the snap of a finger in terms of the pacing and the tone of the movie. And it
Yeah.
completely threw me off to the point where my brother and I were laughing in the theater because
Yeah.
what is happening right now? Like, how did we get from point A to point B to now, okay, Ares is just good now. It doesn't matter that he like that everything's good now. So
Yeah.
that's like one of my biggest criticisms actually is Leto in this movie being the lead. The unfortunate reality, I'm sure you guys know this already, but the only reason this movie got made basically is because of Leto, because he's such a massive Tron fan,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, that
That
that makes me not want to be a fan of Tron anymore.
yeah.
I
But
mean,
I'm curious what you guys think about that in particular in the
I'm
middle of the movie because it's such a weird turning point.
as someone who's seen, excuse me, I was just drinking some water. As someone who's seen Jared Leto in concert a long time ago, before I knew about all the stuff he's done and about his weird things with society and stuff, I'm not surprised that he likes Tron and he's really into Tron. So him getting to this movie made and pushed out into audiences, I'm not surprised. But there's a lot of stuff that could be improved. And I really want to go into the director for a second, Mr. Roning over here. This was a very safe director's choice for him to hop on this movie because I've seen a couple of his movies. I recommend Kon-Tiki. Kon-Tiki is a movie that should have been released in IMAX. I saw it in a basic movie theater and I was like, whoa, how cool this would have been in IMAX. And then, of course, he's worked with Disney with Pirates of the Caribbean and Maleficent. So
His
Disney
past
felt
four
safe,
movies have all been Disney, including this one.
so they're all Disney movies. So they felt safe working with him. So, you know, I don't know if Jared was like, hey, who's your go-to guy at Disney? And they said him, and they're like, okay, great. I don't know if he really understood the material. I do think it would have been fun if Joseph Krasinski, came back to direct, but obviously,
No, that's too
probably,
expensive.
yeah, he's too expensive now. And obviously, he's working with Brad Pitt in F1, and that was incredible. And he went, to do Top Gun, and that was amazing. So, he's got a big ticket for himself. But I just felt like, is this the Jared Leto movie then? Just Jared Leto in his own environment, thinking like this is the world where he sees himself now in this AI world and like this Tron's working with stuff. I don't know. Mac, how do you feel about Jared Leto and his fandom for
Well,
Tron?
this is I don't think this is more of a Jared Leto movie. This is more of like, hey, here's an IP that really hasn't gone anywhere in the last 15 years. I'm a big fan of it. I actually have influence. I mean, since 2010, you've won an Oscar. You kind of have some clout to you, and they're like, well, you have this IP that has a very strong following, and your last film is 15 years old, and I can probably save it. And like you mentioned, because he's expensive because he just did F1, which is going to be on Apple TV in December. Um,
Yay.
so you really can't. Your decision was like, okay, we need an in-house director, and like pretty much just do. This kind of feels like the opposite of Legacy, where it's like it took place all in the grid. This time, it's gonna be in the real world because we can
It's
save
like a
money.
mix of both. And the funny thing is, when Dylan and I were walking out of the movie, we both kept talking about like, yeah, this was kind of like Barbie. You know how Barbie goes into the real world, Ares goes into the world, and then Barbie goes back to Barbie world, and then Ares goes back to you know the grid, and they're going back and forth into the this
Well,
one.
it's like too. It's like what I'm okay with is that like Jared Leto already is an AI guy, so I can believe him as Tron Ares. There is like a theory that's saying like Tron, his character is Tron itself. I'm like, please don't say that. Don't say he's Tron. No. But I mean, the Tron 3 that I'd want is never going to happen because that was Kaczynski what they were working on before they canceled it when they got
Mhm.
Star Wars. And the way that this film ends, they do want to set it up for another movie because they do. The only person that cameos from the past movies is Jeff Bridges.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like Garrett Hedlund and Olivia Wilde, they aren't there, but they are mentioned. And there is something at the end where like we might have to go find them because it lays off of where Legacy ended off. So they obviously want to build this up to something. I've seen people describe Ares as more of a side story compared to the main story. So it's trying to be the Tron Uprising TV variant, but in a movie format, which
okay.
makes me sad because if you wanted to do a side story like this, why didn't you just make it for Disney Plus? Why'd you have to release this in theaters?
Yeah, you can't make a $200 million side story and expect to recoup. It's just that's the aspect of it that I think is the most tragic part of it because like as I'm sitting on the movie more and I think about it and returning back to it and seeing it on Saturday, the visuals really do stick out in your head and the
Hmm.
production design is really good. The score like you guys brought up in the very beginning, which I haven't had a chance to bring up yet. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have scored my favorite movie of all time, which is The Social Network. So they'll always
Oh
have a
Yes.
yeah.
soft spot in my heart in general. I love their score in Challengers. It might have been my favorite score of last year, and the score in this movie is again might be my favorite of the entire year. So they're obviously so talented. It's just that the story is so shallow to where there's nothing to even grip onto. You know, like it's visually stunning, but narratively there is nothing to that wants to keep you kind of coming back to it. There are
Mhm.
elements of the story that are intriguing, like I think it's a cool concept that we are 3D printing the people in the grid into the real world. It's a modern take that works and conceptually it makes sense. but then there's other aspects to the actual characters that you can't connect to. With Legacy, when I just rewatched it, I found myself really, I guess, like Mac, I'm curious what your thoughts on this are too, because and Kristen, because I didn't realize this when I saw it the first time, because I probably saw it like a year after it came out, like on demand or something when Legacy first came out. But I was saying to my brother, I'm like, they tried to make Garrett Hedlund like a star, you know, like they were trying to
Yep.
make something of this kid who's obviously now like a seasoned character actor and he's done other things, but they wanted to make him like a leading man, and I saw it with him. You know, like I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I understand what they're doing in this, and it makes sense why they would put someone like him and Olivia Wilde, who was on the come up, both pairing them with Bridges to do something of this scale with a great up and coming director with so much vision like Kaczynski. This just feels like the ironic thing is that it is like there are aspects of it that feel like AI slop. You know what I mean? Like there are aspects
Yeah.
of it where it's just like they don't have a sense of character even in this movie.
No, they don't. And I guess Mac, you want to say about anything else with uh you think how this is going to play out, I guess, when this movie hits streaming? Do you think
It'll
how it's going to
probably
start?
it will have a better life on streaming
I think
because,
so too.
like I said, this feels like something you could have done on Disney Plus. So that way you can test the waters and be like, okay, is there still a fan base for Tron? Because the Tron fan base is so strong. It is so alive. It has such a, it is probably the most not like a cult stuff, but it's like the most
Loyal
loyal
fan.
fan base.
Yeah.
And we have been waiting 40 years, like 40 years time period, like between Tron 1 and Tron Legacy, that was from 1982 to 2010.
Hmm.
Like, and then another 15 years to get Tron Ares. I know Evan Peters, they made a joke, he made a joke saying, like, yeah, Tron, the next Tron movie will probably be like 15, 10 years. And then the sad part is, it's probably going to be the case because the movie didn't make any money. It's bombing at the box office, like, horribly. And it's going to show Disney be like, hey, um, we don't really want stock of this. So, like, when it hits streaming, I think it's probably going to be its last chance. But I know the Tron fans, everyone's like, "Oh, we like this and everything," and it is a solid movie, but it's just so many problems of it that like underneath like that top layer, there's something there, and I really wish that like it should have been Tron Legacy 3 or 2, the sequel to that. Having this side story, it's fine, but it should have just been like bring back Garrett Hedlund, bring back Olivia Wilde, and just continue their story because us fans want to know what happened to them after Legacy ended.
Yeah.
Because
Um,
it sets up for the next movie. So it's like you can't do this story where it's like, oh, we'll hint at it, and here's Jeff Bridges, he's a legacy character, and it's like you just you can't do that. So when it goes to streaming, I'm hoping holiday. It's probably gonna be around streaming. Probably it's October, probably like late November, early December. Maybe when people are home, they'll start to watch it. But even then, like I think that this might be it for Tron in theaters.
yeah. I think so too. I think Tron ran its course. They're
But it
close
didn't even run
gonna
its
cut
course.
the curtain.
It just got screwed over because Disney just has
Yeah.
no faith in it. Disney's got Star Wars and Marvel now, so they're like, well, here's the thing that we really don't need to put anything into it. Like, I mean, the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack's probably gonna do well, like
Well,
with
they
sales
got their
wise.
ride, so that's all that matters to them. They have the ride in
Yeah,
Disney,
but
so
Tron
that's
can
all they
work
care about.
as a media franchise. Like there is a story to tell, so it's like the fact you can't figure that out with like you should have brought Joseph Kosinski back. Say, hey, we know he kind of screwed you before, but you're well defined. You've done these blockbuster movies. Do you want to come? Because imagine Joseph Kosinski now doing pretty much a revised version of Tron Legacy nowadays. That would cost $1 million. I
You think
guarantee it.
so?
And I think, yeah, and I think there was rumors I read too. Apparently, Ryan Gosling was attached to this.
Oh, is that?
Yes, I believe he was supposed to be Jared Leto's character. I heard. I read a rumor of that. I wasn't sure if that was true or not.
Okay. Ryan Gosling knew something smart up his sleeve if he backed out of that. But all I can say was, as I know we should probably wrap things up. This was kind of a disappointment, I feel, for Tron fans. Would have been nice to see Garrett Hedlund. Yeah, but he was busy working on Barron's Cove. Shout out to that movie.
Darian, you got any last thoughts about Tron Ares?
My biggest thing is coming off what you just said, Mac, too. I do think that there's something special about the cult thing that is Tron. Like I do think there is going to be a second life for this movie in the future on streaming. But again, my recommendation to everybody is like you make sure you watch this on the highest def you can to really appreciate
Yes.
the
Yes.
aspects of it that are really great about it because there's not a lot that is great about it, but that definitely is. Um, I would like to see a video game in the Tron world, a modern video game.
Oh, we got
Um,
Tron Evolution came out after Tron Legacy, the game.
okay, so I would like to see maybe a continuation of that. I have to go back and play that game, but something like that I would be interested in. I do think it's unfortunate. Again, I don't want to give away spoilers for people who might not have seen it yet, but I hate when a movie sets something up that like it basically was like I got to the end of the movie and I turned to my brother and I'm like, well, that's what I wanted to see. And then they gave it
Mhm.
to me in the last 2 minutes and I'm like, well, now we're never going to get it. And I really don't think we are. I really do, unfortunately, I think a $200 million movie that might not even get to 100 million is very problematic for the Disney brand. And I think that it was something where even the former person who used to run the live action division at Disney is the one that kind of pushed this movie through development hell. So I wish it was better, but unfortunately, it doesn't live up to the last two films, in my opinion.
Listen to the soundtrack. This is a good Nine Inch Nails music video. Same like Tron Legacy was a good Daft Punk music video. But you know what? I'm gonna give Tron Ares like a B minus.
Okay, that's nice to review. I'm going to give it uh this probably is I the one I enjoyed the least out of all three. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give it a C.
I am right in line with Kristen. I'm also going to give it a C because on our channel we rate from 1 to 10, and I would probably give this a 5. So it's
Yeah.
right in the middle for me, where I would say it's pretty average.
Yeah. Alrighties. Well, it was fun to talk. So if you want to check out Tron Ares for yourself, go check it out or wait till streaming. So
No, go watch it in theater. Support this movie.
yeah, okay. Alrighties, Mac. I think that's our show.
Yes. So this has been another great episode, Darian. Thank you so much for joining us, man. Where could the good folks find you at?
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me. It was been so much fun talking movie and television news with you guys, as well as Tron Ares. You guys can follow me on Instagram at DJ Scal, and in there in my bio, you can find all of our handles for Cinema Wave and Culture Wave, and also at Cinema Wave Media on Instagram and TikTok. And if you guys want to subscribe to me on YouTube, you could do that by typing in Culture Wave Media, where you could find all of our podcasts there.
Excellent. Well, Mac, we got our Halloween episode coming up for the folks to get excited about.
Yeah, and make sure and all of Darian's links will be in the description below. So yeah, our next episode will be a Halloween-esque episode when we covering spooky movies. I'm excited for that. Make sure you check us out on Instagram at the MK Productions Podcast. Subscribe to the channel MK Productions Podcast on YouTube. Make sure you support us on Patreon. It's only $1 a month. Helps us out. Any size contribution helps out a lot. But until then, I've been Mac. This has been Kristen, our specialist Garrett, Darian. Until next time, you listen to the MK Productions Podcast. Peace.
Bye.
Bye, guys.